Welcome to the check-in, ladies and gentlemen. Today's topic: Disney announces its first lead character that is bisexual. If you don't know, Disney has since put a gay character in one of their films, but this has been the first bisexual character that they are putting into a film series called The Owl House, where a Dominican girl, a young 14-year-old Dominican girl, plays a witch that doesn't have any magical abilities. And I would like to ask the question: why do we have to push this agenda into kids' films? Now, I am not here to bash anyone from the gay community, from the LGBT community, and I will be honest. I do think that kids do need to learn about, the LGBT community. I think they need to be educated on all things involving the LGBT community, whether it be marriage, whether it be relationships, whether it be, any type of aspect of the LGBT community. But I have to ask the question: why are we pushing this agenda and this narrative into films with young kids? Kids, this is from my heterosexual perspective. This is my heterosexual perspective. I believe kids should learn about, sexuality from their parents and from people that are experienced and that people that can sit down and explain to them. I don't believe that young kids could learn and fully grasp sexuality and homosexuality and all of those things. I don't think they could possibly grasp those things within a film, and then within a kid's film at that. And I believe this is something that kids need to sit down and talk to someone about. This is something that kids need to sit down and talk to, something about this narrative. I don't believe that this narrative and this agenda should be pushed into kids' films. The kids, they are young, they're impressionable, they don't know exactly where they're headed in life. Their young minds are to be molded. And, kids can be confused. Kids could be, take the wrong messaging. And I personally believe that when it comes to LGBTQ, when it comes to homosexuality, when it comes to being bisexual, I believe that this is something that kids need to sit down and talk to someone about. This is not something that should be pushed into films. In kids' films, maybe into, adult films, fine. Teen films, fine. But kids' films, I believe that that's not a place for that. There's no place for sexuality and orientation within kids' films. They're kids. They're not thinking about sex. They're not thinking about boobs. They're not thinking about, all of the things that adult and teenage boys and men and young girls and young women think of. So why do we have to push this narrative of sexuality, even if it was heterosexual sexuality? I don't believe that even heterosexual sexuality should be placed into films, where it should be, a character should have a sexual orientation. This is for kids. This is not about sex. This is not about sexual orientation. This is a kid's film. This is for kids. Impressionable kids. So why are we pushing this narrative? Why are we pushing this agenda on young kids? Let kids make their own discernment. Let them make their own, let them have their own ideas, their own freedoms. Let's not push narratives into their heads. Let them have their own free-thinking ideas. And that's what I think that a lot of these film industries that make kids films and that want to be a part of the new normal, the new normalcy, that they're pushing an agenda upon these kids. And I'm not for that. I'm not for kids being pushed into an agenda. I'm not for kids being attacked. I'm not for kids, being hurt and being introduced to something that they're not old enough to grasp. They're not old enough to grasp sexual orientation and sexuality. Those things should not be placed into films. And that's my opinion. That's my thoughts. And that's how I feel. I'm True and Living. Thank you for joining me. And this video, I want to say, was not meant to discriminate against anyone from the LGBT community or from anyone, of the, any type of community, no matter your sexual orientation. I am just here to talk about an agenda being pushed upon kids. I believe kids should be left alone. Things of sexual orientations, questions of sexual orientations, things of sexual, interest should not be placed into kids' film. Kids are innocent. They can't fully grasp things. So let kids make their own discernment and let kids have their own thoughts. And that's my opinions. Those are my thoughts. I'm True and Living. Thank you for joining me.